Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video, I'm going to be using the brand new, uniquely creative, pretty amazing mini kit to make this very pretty rainbow card. So let's go ahead and jump in. Alright, so for this card, I'm going to use a technique I don't use particularly often, but I have seen it used and I want to have a play. Sometimes you like to experiment. So I'm going to do some heat embossing and then some watercoloring of one of these gorgeous flowers from the new uniquely creative, pretty amazing stamp and die set. I love, and I cannot wait to show you some of the things that I've already created with this card, with this stamp set, sorry. But I just want to play with just one of the stamps today, just to show you, not to show you how easy it is to use just one image, but I like the simpleness at the moment. I'm very into simpleness. Anyway, so we're going to start off with, I've just got a couple of pieces of white cardboard here. I'm just going to start off with priming my cardboard to do heat embossing. So I'm just putting some powder on here. I don't have to be particularly careful. This is the time that I wish I had one of the bags because it would make this a bit easier. But anyway, don't have one, so I'm just living with it. And then we're going to stamp out 5, breathe in the powder, 5 of these little flowers. I'm just going to tidy that up before we keep going. Don't want the powder everywhere. So I've got my Versamark ink, and we'll just stamp this out 5 times. I'm going to cut them out with the die, so they don't need to be particularly straight or the right one. I have got some black ink on that, so that's how come you might be able to just see. But that's actually a good thing because it means I can see where I'm stamping these out, which helps. I could also use the Misty here if you wanted to, but I think it'll be okay just doing it this way. So once I've got my 5 flowers in, I'm just going to use some black heat embossing powder. Something I, again, don't use particularly often, but I like. Because I'm going to play with some watercolors. This is where I like having this. The embossing powder will. What's the word I'm looking for? There is a word. Words are so hard for me at the moment. It will stop the water escaping. I guess that's the right sort of thing I want to say, and it will keep it encased. That's not the right word, but keep it all where I need it to so that it doesn't wander away while I'm doing this. I'm a little unhappy with that coverage, but we'll see what it looks like. I might need to just do one extra. Okay. Trying to keep it all on my little coffee filter. Might be okay. Oh, there we go. Just needed a little bit more powder. Alright, so I'll put this all back in the jar. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss or heat set all of these. Now just a little sort of hint. If there's ever a bit that you're not happy with. Now I'm happy because I'm cutting these out anyway, but if there was just a couple of little specks in the way, just grab yourself a dry paintbrush. Generally a fine tipped one is a little bit easier, but that way you can just sort of knock that bit of powder off and it won't set on your image. I'm just going to sit that off to the side to let that cool down for a second. There's just one here that I'm not happy with. I think this one I might just do 2 more just in case, because I just feel like I haven't done a very good job of 2 of these and I'd rather have them be right and do it all while I've got all the embossing stuff out than have to come back and fix it later because I'm really not happy with it. So we'll just go ahead and do 2 more exactly the same way we just did. It's going to be a little bit less pushy. Just not going to push as hard, sorry. When I put that stamp down. There we go. Hopefully that'll stop the squishiness because I'm just not happy with how squished that got. Oh, that's why you always put the lid back on, people. Now just a little, not a hint, but if you don't have black embossing powder, but you do have clear embossing powder, just stamp this with Versamark instead of with Versafine. Oh gee, I did a horrible job there. Okay, I'm not going to waste that, so I'm just going to knock all of that powder off. just going to re-stamp this somewhere else or next to it. Yeah, using your Versamark, no, Versafine, or any really sort of sticky wet ink. And you can do the same thing with a clear embossing powder. And you just have the black will come up from below instead of being on top of. That's a bit better. So I'm just again knocking off that bit there because I don't want to waste any of that embossing powder on here. I'll put it away and heat set this again, and then hopefully we can get to colouring. Still not 100% happy with that one, but I like it better than I like this one, so we'll just see how we go. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to really quickly wipe my desk over again because I don't want any of this powder to react with water because then you just get cloppy stuff. I'm going to use, for something different, some Tombow markers. Now I know I used these in a weekly decoration a couple of weeks ago and I was sort of a bit surprised by how much I enjoyed them. I didn't think I would like playing with them as much as I did. So that's why I thought I'd bring them in and use them again today. So I'm going to do 5 of these flowers. I know I've got 6, 7 here, but I'm only going to use 5. And we're just going to play with some watercolours in kind of a rainbow order, but it's like a pastel-y rainbow. So I'm going to start off with this blue, and I'll do this one with, actually, I'm going to start off with the green and do the stem. I'm going to do all the stems at once. I just don't want this one. But the others, I'm going to colour all of them in, at least this, like I'm going to colour all the stems in, and then we'll see how we go with which one gets to be which colour. Also just putting, I don't know why I did that. I meant to put the Tombow down first and then put the water. I told you I'm not good at this. So this is 515. There's a little bit of water still on the desk there, so it's alright. So it's already spritzed out. And I have a clean, so I've got a clean thing of water up here as well. So I'm going to start, I don't know why am I starting with the blue? I was going to start with the green. I'm very out of it. Here we go. So I've just watered the green down. I'm going to put a little bit of water on the stem first, just plain water. My brush is clean at this point. And just put the water on the stem first, and on the leaves. And because we've used the embossing powder, it keeps this in a little bit. So then I can come in with the water, with the Tombow, sorry. And this is very pale, you probably won't notice it this first lot round. And then I'm going to build this colour up. So I'm deliberately doing this slowly. I want to build the colour up bit by bit so that I can allow it to build as opposed to putting it all down and try and take it away. It's much easier. This is what I found with watercolour, and I'm not going to sit here and profess to be an expert on watercolour because I am far from it. But what I have found with watercolour and Copics and every other colouring medium for that matter, it is much easier to add colour than it is to take it away. So start slow, start light, and you can build it up as you go. So the other thing I found with watercolour, sometimes heat setting it helps. So I'm just going to give it a quick blast. The idea there wasn't to dry it completely, but it was just to give me a bit more of an idea of what it looked like, and if I need to add some more to it, which I do. So I'm just going to add a little bit more, and that's also how you get the shadows and the difference in here. You play with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do all of the greens at once. So all of the stems on all of the flowers, and then we'll come back. I'll do one of the ones, probably the blue one, on camera with you, and the other ones I'll do super quick. Only because they're all going to be very, very similar in the way that I paint them. There's not going to be any differentiation. Really, it's just building the colour up bit by bit. got my 6, my starting 6. We'll see how we go. I like the watery look, the watercolory kind of not quite perfect look. So that's sort of what I've gone for a little bit here, which is why I went back in and did like a dark layer. But that's where it's fun with watercolors. You can build them up. You can build them up really, really nicely, and I really enjoy, when I have time, playing with that build up. All right, so now we're going to start with the flower. I'm going to do this one here. So I've got, it's the same thing of water. It's a lot of water, and I didn't have a lot of ink, so I'm hoping this won't be quite so horribly wet, horribly discolored, sorry. So I'm just going in with the water, and I'm painting the whole, what's the word I'm looking for, bloom, I guess, with the water. That's just to wet the area. Contain was the word I was thinking of before, and that's what the embossing powder does. It contains the water. So then when I go in with the ink, I've just got that pretty light, and I'm just going to spread it out to kind of just tint. It's more of a tint than a colour at this point. So we're just washing it up. Washing it up. If I don't get it in every area, that's okay, because like I said, I like that watery kind of look, the not quite perfect look. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll pull it up, and this is where I'm just going to work on one bloom at a time. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to heat set it, and then we can look at adding another layer I will want to add at least one more, but we can add more on top of that if we want to. Alright, I'm actually having some trouble with my heat tool, and that whole time I was just sitting here waiting for this to dry. So it is actually dry now to a point that I'm happy to keep going. So next time, what I'll do, because hopefully it'll be, you know, able to be used in a second. I think it's just too hot. We had this trouble, I think, when I did the shrinky dinks. But anyway, so I'm just going to go back in again here with the ink, and now I'm just kind of being a little bit more, not heavy-handed, I'm just using a bit more colour and just sort of pulling it up from the bottom and just adding that sort of watery look. Remember what I said before too, it is easier to add colour than take it away. So if you add too much, if you feel like it's too dark, just come in with a little bit more water and dilute it, because we don't want to make this too dark at this point. I'm actually going to leave it at that. I'm not going to add in another layer. So because of that, I can wipe off my blue and we can start on the next colour. So like I said, I'll do one more with you guys, and then the rest of them I'll do super quick off camera. So the colours that I'm using here, the Tombow colours, are the blue was 515, the violet is 623, the pink is 817, the orange is 946, and the yellow is 055, and that's just sort of, so I've got an extra flower here, so if there's one that I don't like the colour, or I don't like the way that it's blended together, whatever it happens to be, I can just redo one. If I'm happy with all 5, I'll just have a spare. So again, we'll water the whole thing, and then we go in with the ink. Always add more. Whoops, I forgot to put water on that. Let's do that again. This one is the palest of all the colours that I'm using, so it'll be the hardest to see, but it will give a very, very pretty kind of finish once it's on. I really love this lilac. So do the first sort of wash, just get the colour on here. Very, very pale, but looks awesome. And then we wait for that to dry and we add on the extra one. I'm just going to check if my heat tool's working. If it is, I'll heat tool this. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next colour. Aha! It's working! So just enough to dry it off. It doesn't need to be a full dry off. It just needs to be enough. Now, just a little tip too, when you're using these really pale colours, when you do the second run, don't put any water on with them, and that way they'll be just that little bit less diluted and and they'll go on a little bit darker. I am really going for that not quite right finish, so that's why I'm leaving some little bits there that aren't completely dry. Sorry, aren't completely covered. I really like that purple one. I'm not sure I like the blue one. I may have to come back and redo the blue one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the pink, the orange and the yellow, and then we'll decide if we need to redo one. Alright, all flowers now coloured. I didn't actually end up doing that other one, so I think I like the blue enough. We'll see when we cut them all out if I actually do like it or if I don't. So I'm just grabbing the matching die. We're going to run this through the die cut machine. Yes, it's a bit annoying that we have to do it 5 times, but it's so worth it. I'm just grabbing just a little bit of tape. We'll just go ahead and cut all of these out, and then we can start arranging them. Now they're just a little bit of a, I guess, a advisory. Depending on what kind of paper or cardboard you used, it may be a little bit warped. I just use plain white cardstock. There's nothing fancy here. You could obviously have used watercolor paper if you wanted to. I just wanted to see what I'd get just using my Tombows on plain cardboard. You will have a little bit of warp happening. That's okay. Just make sure your die is really stuck down so that when it cuts, it doesn't wobble around too much. So for this one, I've just noticed as I've gone to put it in that it's just a little bit not quite where I wanted it, so I'm just readjusting it. Okay, so I have my 5 little florals here. Oh, I love that pink. Damn, I love the pink. Why do I always love the pink so much? And it's gonna run, they're gonna run in sort of color order. So it'll be blue, purple, pink. No. Red, orange, yellow. No, I did have the red in the middle. Anyway, going like that, I think. Yes. Oh, I didn't do such a great job of cutting out that yellow one, but that's all right, I'm going to leave it. So because we've got the 5 images like this, I want to do it on a slimline card. So I'm grabbing out my Uniquely Creative Slim Scalloped Nesting Rectangles because I want this to sit on a scallop first. I'm just sort of seeing how big I'm going to need this. So I'm just putting them all down, roughly spaced. No, it's going to need to be the biggest. So if we're going to use the big one, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this just out of some plain white cardstock because we're going to do some splatters on here to kind of pretty it up. Just making sure that's going to fit, which it is. There we go. Did it cut? Yes, it did. Just thought for a minute it didn't quite catch the end there, but it did. No, it didn't. I didn't think it did. Just run that through one more time. Just the end. The rest of it's fine. There we go. Okay, so then this becomes the sort of background panel that we're going to work on. I think my plates are a little bit dirty because they've just been leaving some little marks on my white cardstock, which is okay because I can just rub them off with my fingers, but just if anyone knows how to clean die cut plates, please let me know. So I'm going to have these sitting, I want to have them, these will be up a little bit on some foam tape. Actually, I'm not going to use foam tape, I'm going to do something that's really crazy, but I'll tell you guys about that in just a sec. So I'm going to sit like that. So what I want to do is I want the paint colours behind it to be the rainbow. So I'm going to put a little bit of scrap paper here. And I'm going to move off the yellow one and we're going to do some yellow splatter. I'm always going to water these down with 3 sprays just so that they stay the same sort of consistency, I guess. And we're just going to splatter just a little bit. Doesn't need to be too much. Just making sure it's everywhere. And then we heat set because I don't want to mess them up when I move to the next one. And then we can move to the next one. So they will come, what's the word I'm looking for? They will cross over a little bit. So it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of orange in the yellow and a little bit of pink in the orange and those sort of things, because that's sort of normal. But I don't want there to be like orange in the blue and purple in the orange and stuff like that. So that one was the orange one. A little bit of, I think I'll do gold because I do want to add in something I'm sort of tossing and turning. There's this little laser cut that came with the kit for this one, and I was thinking I might put a little couple of silver butterflies because there's two of these really cute ones. I was thinking I would do rose gold, but now I'm leaning towards gold. I'm just deciding if I want to put a little bit of gold splatter on the back. I think what I'll do first is sit this down and do the gold on the butterfly, see what that looks like, and then we can attempt to put gold splatter on here to sort of finish that off. So I'm just putting that off to the side, grabbing my Versamark again. Just got a piece of that scrap cardboard. We're just inking this up. So you will need to get your fingers in it a little bit, but that's okay. Come on. Just tapping that down. You've seen me do this before, but I'm going to grab some tweezers because I will most certainly need them. So then we'll move that onto our embossing sort of area. We'll tip that gold over it. Oops, don't need to take the lid off yet. Rescue the little butterfly. Might need to do more than one layer here. It might be a 2-layer. We'll go ahead and heat set this one as well. Now I'm trying to hold this, I'm going to do it over some paper because I don't want there to be any chance of there being stuff on my desk. That's really pretty. I think I did gold last time though, didn't I? That's where I'm sort of thinking I should have done this in silver. But I do really like that gold finish. I think it looks really pretty. Yeah, we'll do gold. So I'm just going to have a look through my watercolour paints here and just decide which gold I think matches it the best. So I'm just going to put a little bit of light gold flecking on here as well, just to add some shine. So we'll just make this soupy. Because we're doing flecks, it just needs to be a little bit more soupy. There we go. And we'll just do a little bit of spattering on here. I don't want too much. I don't want to go crazy. I just want there to be a little bit. So I'm just going to pick that up, have a look so I can sort of see shine. So I'm missing some down this end. It's very subtle. It's there, but you just kind of can't see it, but it is definitely there. Okay. Clean up, heat set, and then we can start actually assembling all this. Alright, while that's finishing its drying, we can sort of have a look at the size of the card. So I made myself up a Slimline card base. I think it's going to be too big though. Yes, definitely going to be too big. So all I'm going to do, this was just sort of, that one was a 10.5, I think. I had my ruler out for this exact reason. So that's a 10 centimetre high Slimline. I think I'll make, this one's an 8. I think I'll make it a 9 centimetre. So I'm just grabbing a piece of white cardstock, just plain old cardboard, nothing fancy again. I'm going to put the lid back on my stuff before I accidentally tip it over. And then we're going to cut, actually we're going to do the scoring first because I find that easier. So I said 9. I'm just grabbing a pencil. I'm just grabbing my score tool and working out where the 9 is. So it's just there. Because this is in inches, not in centimetres, I do have to kind of just mark it and do it myself, but that doesn't bother me much. So I'll just find a line where I can go straight. Here we go. I'm just going to erase that little pencil mark so that we don't see it. And then fold over. I'm going to trim to this as opposed to cutting it and then folding it, because I find I get a better finish this way. Then I can make sure I don't get that annoying little bit of cardboard at the bottom. Alright, the thing I said I was going to do that was going to be a pain in the bum. I just think that putting foam tape on here is not going to give me what I want. It's not going to give me the right dimension. It's going to be a bit icky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out, and I'm going to do it like super quick. I'm just going to cut to it. I'm going to cut an extra 3, 15 white, where did it go? The dies of these, so that I can stick them down behind them and build the dimension up that way. Like I said, I'm going to do it super quick. I'm going to stick it all with liquid adhesive. It's a bit easier, and I'll be back and we can finish assembling this card. Alright, so I've glued them all together. So there's 3 bits of cardboard plus the actual thing itself. That's 4 things high for each of them. It took me a bit, but then I stuck them underneath a acrylic block just to help the glue stick. And then I walked away and had dinner, and now I'm back again. So we're going to finish this off by sticking down that. It's so subtle, but it's so pretty. And I am kind of half debating, yeah, we're going to lift this up too. There's going to be a couple of layers to this one, but that's all right. But I'm not going to use cardboard or anything. I'm going to use some foam, just some kids foam for this one. I'm just going to cut this roughly down to size and stick it down with some double-sided tape. I find glue runner doesn't work particularly well on this kids craft foam, and liquid glue does work, but I don't tend to like it as much as the double-sided. It just tends to work a bit better. So I'm just cutting it roughly to size. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're never going to notice it. You also don't need to use white. If you only have grey or green or whatever, just use whatever you've got. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this down. It also helps with the keeping it flat. Using the foam sort of seems to flatten it out a little bit more. Alright, so I can mount this up now. The other thing that having that foam and the double-sided tape does is it just helps, doesn't look straight to me, it just helps flatten this bit of cardboard out because it was a little bit warped because of all of the colours. Am I just imagining things? No, that's straight. I'm just imagining stuff. So then we're going to go ahead and stick these down. Before I do that though, I just want to line them all up. Line them all up. Make sure that they're straight. Oh, that is so pretty. That's so much prettier than I thought it was going to be. Now that everything's sort of together, you can sort of start working out where it's all going to go and making sure it's all pretty. So I'm just going to move. This is why I did die cuts instead of stamping straight onto, so that way I can wiggle them around, make sure they're spaced evenly. Doesn't that just look so pretty? And then we can put these, or have the butterflies sort of in places too. I might add another butterfly. And then I'm kind of trying to decide what to do with the sentiment. There is this really pretty, and I've just got it taped in here so that I don't lose it, because I was playing with it and it wouldn't stay then in the thing. See, I think that's now, oh, actually, no. it would look really pretty, but actually it would look really nice if you did like that and took the pink one out, but I'm really wanting to have that pink there. So what I might do, I might do a gold, we might do a gold sentiment here. So I'm going to trim this down. I'm just cutting it to, it's about 1 centimetre. It's just the height of my blade bit here in the trimmer. That way I know it's straight. I'm only doing 1 layer here because we've got so many other layers, and I'll just sort of help that along. I'm just trying to decide if I want it to be black or if I just want it to be white with the gold. Now, sentiments that come in the stamp set. So we've got thinking of you, thank you so much, you're pretty amazing, and thanks a bunch. I'm thinking I might use, oh, I have a better idea. Sometimes you just need to play with things. So I'm scrubbing in that piece of black again, and we're just going to emboss this onto here with gold. So just the same way we did before. Whoops. Because there is a die in the die set that cuts out the thinking of you. So I'm going to use that. Oops. Now, before I do too much, because it's a little bit of a skinnier die, skinnier stamp, sometimes they can sort of wobble around on your acrylic block. So always put it down on your mat or wherever you're working, and then pick it up that way. So that way it's going to fit into your die. So hold on, I'll stamp this down and I'll show you again what I mean. Now that that's stuck. So rather than putting it onto here, because I can manipulate this and make it sort of the wrong shape, and that way the die, it won't fit in the die. So if I put it down on my mat and then pick it up, the silicone actually has a chance to hold it in the right spot, so that way it won't be warped or funny. Okay, so then we just need to put the gold on and then cut this out with the die cut machine. We're going to use it, and I just need to cut out the other two, or have the other two little butterflies though. These are a little bit bigger, and that's sort of where I'm starting to think maybe there's the sizing is wrong, because the butterflies actually look bigger than the sentiment, and I don't think that's going to work. Before I 100% decide on this, I'm just grabbing, this is my little box of sentiments, or cup of sentiments. I've got some of the ones that also came on the cut apart for this kit, and I'm just sort of having a look here to see if maybe we can do something else instead. Ooh. So this one just says, hope your birthday is special. I just think that's really pretty for this, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to do something with the butterflies across the top. So I'm only going to use 2. So I'm just going to put the big one back, and we're just going to gold this one, or emboss this one, sorry. make this match, something I didn't know that I'm just so 100% over the moon to actually have found out is that the cut apart from Uniquely Creative are actually printed with toner ink. So this will go through my Mink and will foil along those words. So I'm going to go and do that, and then we're going to put that on the sentiment, and then we're going to be ready to go. All right, so that's been through the Mink machine. It just adds the smallest little detail, but it's just so worth it. All right, let's get this damn thing finished. I feel like we've been doing this forever. I'm just pulling everything off there, just so I can line it up. So I'm just using my mat here, so I can line them all up straight. I'm just putting them all so the tip is right on that line, and then there's just a little bit of space between them. I find it easier on the mat than on the cardboard because I can actually use the line as a guide. Go, grab some washi tape. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on my pants just to try and get rid of some of the sticks so that there's no accidental pulling up. Go. And then there, I'm just holding it still there for a second. So we've got the Hope Your Birthday is Special and then the 2 butterflies at the top. So what I'm deciding is how high I want these flowers. So I'm just going to pull them down just a little bit, and we'll make the Hope Your Birthday is Special a bit further down. I'm going to put this on a little bit of foam, but I'm going to use foam tape this time because it's a little bit easier than gluing them all together. Plus I've got a really skinny foam tape, so this will work. There we go. So I'm happy, I think, with where they are. Whoops. I'm going to pull this down towards me a little bit more. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to mount the sentiment up first. I'm just using the middle flower as my sort of guide point. Oops, which just moved, but that's fine. There we go. I'm just giving that a bit of a push just so that the tape sticks down. So I'm just using a teensy little bit of liquid glue on the back of my cut apart of my laser cut, just because I want it to sit on top of the sentiment as well. If you don't like using adhesive, liquid adhesive, because I know sometimes it can be a bit thick, a glue dot would work here as well. I'll do the same thing with the other one. If you ever do what I did in the first one and accidentally put a little bit too much glue, just wipe it off with your finger. Now that one is a little bit, I need the glue not so much in the middle, more on the wing. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stick down the flowers. So to do that, because I want these to stay in exactly the right spot, I'm just going to hold that one down. Is that where the line's right? Glue. Too much glue. Way too much glue. Might as well get gluey fingers now. Whoops, it moved. No. It's alright. I can line it up again. And just go ahead and line or stick the other ones down. So I'm just going to put all the glue on at once now, because that first one's holding it down. Where I'll grab my acrylic block in again, just to put something heavy on it for a minute. Oh, those butterflies are adorable. I love that this one's actually just sort of sitting up just a little bit. It just gives it that little extra inch of dimension. Ink, that's not a word. It is, but it's not the right word. And then I'm just pulling off the tape really gently. And there we have our watercolor flower card. I think that's what I'll call it. I really like the watercolor actually. For me it's really different, and I know that I did like 3 or 4 different techniques in this video and sort of did some weird things. I really love this. I think the colors are just perfect, and I really love that watercolor effect, especially on the purple one and the pink one. I think those two came up the best. But that is it for this card making video. I hope you did enjoy it. These products are now available from Uniquely Creative. If you want to check them out, I will link them down below so you can do so. I have made some other cards using this collection. You'll see them on my Instagram in the next couple of weeks, so make sure you're following me over there if you are interested in seeing them. Please give this video a big old thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything else from me. Hope you have an absolutely awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!